Hello, everyone. Welcome to Turf Topics, presented by Aquaritin Turf Solutions. Our guest is Steve Datwyler, the superintendent at the golf club at Ravenna in Littleton, Colorado, a single-owner private facility roughly a half hour north of Denver that's part of a real estate development. Datwyler has been at the club since 2010 and has been the superintendent for a decade. A graduate of Colorado State University, he presided over a renovation of the J. Morris design that made it much more player-friendly. We started our discussion by talking about that transformation.
One of the first things that our owner did when he took over ownership of the golf course was to improve the playability of Ravenna. Ravenna was built in the early 2000s, and we had... there were quite a bit of bunkers on the golf course. We had over 4 acres of sand. We had incredibly difficult greens. And so we spent the last 6 years improving the playability. We've removed over 2 acres of sand, bunkers on the golf course. We've rebuilt a few greens to kind of soften the severe contours and slopes. And so really what we've done is kind of simplified our maintenance operations. And through that process, we've also upgraded equipment. But, we've figured labor's always been a challenge, and it's expensive. And so we're just working on making the golf course more sustainable all around.
Let's talk about your ponds. You have several on the golf course, and I'm of the opinion that few things add more to the ambiance and the visual appeal of a golf course than a well-maintained body of water, even though I may end up hitting into most of them. But
sure,
just what they do for the appearance of a golf course, it's hard to match that.
I agree. So we have 4 ponds on our golf course. We have 1 irrigation pond. It's kind of a feature of our 6th golf hole. And then there's 3 other ponds throughout the golf course, and their primary function is to capture stormwater and improve water quality, post-storm, just by improving water quality before it leaves our site. And those ponds also, have become features of the golf holes.
What is your primary water source? Rainwater for the most part, or?
Well, it's actually a blend of snowmelt, rainfall. It's off of the Plum Creek, which is about 9 miles away from our property. But the Plum Creek also picks up a lot of effluent water from some treatment plants or upstream treatment plants. So it's a blend of effluent and snowmelt rainfall. And as the season progresses, through the summer and fall, there's more effluent water than there is natural runoff.
Thinking back to when you arrived there, and particularly when you took over as superintendent, what kind of condition were those ponds in?
When I took over as superintendent, we were maintaining the ponds ourselves, so we did not have a contractor, and I would say we had poor quality ponds. We had a lot of algae. We had a lot of pondweed. And I think 3 years after managing ponds myself, we decided to hire a contractor to do the ponds. And, the quality, because they are experts, our water quality improved over the course of that first season, and then they maintained the ponds very well since.
What kind of steps were the contractors taking to improve your water quality?
They were using copper products, applications of sonar for pondweed, and they were also maintaining our cattails, kind of reducing the amount of cattails that we had, and that required weekly checks throughout the season. They would apply product as needed.
How would you say your satisfaction level was on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would say 8. The service was great, but the price was high.
So you took my next question away from me. What made you make the decision to go back to doing it yourself? I assume cost was a factor.
Cost was a factor, and then in 2020, prior to the surge of golf from COVID, our club was looking to save money anywhere that we could. Our revenue wasn't real strong 2019 and early 20, so that was somewhere where I felt like we could save, we were going to be able to save about $12,000 by not using a pond contractor. And one of our local distributors had picked up Aquaritin as a part of their line and started to promote it. So it intrigued me enough to try to use this product. I'm always interested in kind of novel products, and so because our distributor was initially talking about bringing Aquaritin on in their line, they also gave me a direct conduit to Anil. So I was able to call Anil, talk about how Aquaritin Lakes works, and Anil seems to be very passionate about this product, and it gave me every reason to give it a shot.
So when did you start applying it?
So started applying it in 2020 in the spring, based on the recommended, temperatures of above 50 degrees.
So that would have been what time of the year in that part of Colorado?
That would have been early May.
A little bit later than it is in some parts of the country, but your golf season starts a little later, obviously, because of the weather.
Depending on the season, but usually it's golf. In fact, that in 2020, because things were shut down, golf started kind of early. We did have a nice spring, so. But yeah, the application timing was still around May. But generally, we do have a short season.
And that was, 3 applications at that time of year?
So we did the initial, I think I did our initial application at 1 liter to about 2.5 million gallons. And then we did some maintenance applications after that, which was about 0.5 liter per 2.5 million gallons.
So that
I want to say we did 4 to 5 treatments that year.
And how was that spaced out timing-wise? Several in the spring and then a couple more later in the season?
Yeah, it was spaced out every. I think I want to say it was 2 to 3 weeks in the spring, and then kind of as needed through the summer.
And what was your impression after you made the applications, particularly that first set in the spring, and saw the effects of what Lakes was doing?
What I really noticed, we had one of our ponds on hole number 12 is it's fairly small. It's about 1/2 acre-foot in size, and it's fairly shallow, and so it has it has kind of a strong odor that comes from it, and then a lot of algae. And I noticed that the water clarity in there improved. I noticed a reduction in odor, and overall algae. A lot less algae. So that was a pond where I really noticed an improvement in clarity, and figured that if it's working here, it's got to be. The other ponds weren't nearly as bad, but that really stood out to me.
I think a pond like that, if you notice that kind of improvement, it's something that your members/customers are really going to notice. At the same time, if a pond isn't maintained properly, they're going to notice that too, correct?
Correct. I hear more about when a pond is not maintained well than when it doesn't have. Nobody ever really compliments you when they're looking great, but they.
I wish I could say I'm surprised by that, but I'm not.
Right.
But But I noticed just on any golf course, if a pond is not maintained properly, it gives off the impression that the rest of the property isn't being maintained properly either.
That's correct, yeah. I think that's a fair statement.
Whether that's true or not, but that's the impression that comes off.
Sure.
So what were some of the other things that you noticed in terms of water quality, in terms of the photosynthesis process, all of that Aquaritin Lakes is intended to enhance?
I don't know that I've noticed enhancements. Are you speaking of, specifically like irrigating out of the treated pond?
Not so much that, but just water quality, and as you mentioned, reduced algae and that kind of thing.
Right. And we really haven't, we test once a year for water quality. I think this year I'm going to test more often because our pond, because our blend in the summertime starts, we have more effluent as the summer progresses, into the fall. I definitely want to start testing more often. So I think I'm gonna see some results this year. I'm hoping to see some results. I know that our water source